Okay guys, just wanted to make a quick video for you and show you a couple things. This was, until I disassembled it, a Cub Cadet, what is it, a 1042i. So this is what they call a zero-turn mower. This is not a zero-turn in the sense of what me and you would think of a zero-turn with the tank steering handles. It is still a tractor, as you see here. Very much so a tractor, but the front wheels will, basically this is kind of like those zero turns with the steering wheel, but kind of before they started mounting them on that kind of a frame. So let's get down in here and I'll tell you what you're looking at. What we're doing is attempting to replace a drive belt. And I just wanted to show you guys what all was involved. First, the whole body has to be taken loose and kind of swung up out of the way here, which is a feat in itself, all because of this hole right here. Because Cub Cadet decided that this idler right here was going to mount up underneath here, and the nut is right there, and there's no way to get to it without taking this body off. If this was my mower, I would cut a hole somewhere in the general area where that nut is and forego removing the body. But since this is the zero turn drive, this mower actually has two hydro units. Okay, instead of your traditional single one that drives the rear axle, this one actually has a hydro motor per wheel, which is what allows it to turn really sharp, you know, zero turn. So in order to remove this belt, once we get all this off, we have to put this back on here real quick. But basically, these pulleys have to come off. So there's no way to do this repair without removing the body. And then you can remove the pulley and the fan together. This looks something like this. And then we're able to get this belt off. And even then, and I'm kind of looking at this because honestly this is the first one of these that I've done. We have to remove these bolts and get these arms up out of the way, which these actually go with the steering to help control the hydro motor when it turns, because this belt has to go essentially around these guys. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's going to be going around the pulley back here, but get underneath it, and we can see underneath here this belt actually. Sorry, I kind of started taking this apart. Wasn't really going to make a video, didn't really have time, but then this is just such a nightmare that I thought I had to share this with you guys. So let's get this back around here. Hang on, this is really hard to deal with one hand. Oh gosh. Hang on, let me pause this. Okay, so now I've got this kind of roughly back in place. But first off, in order to, on any of these Cub Cadets or MTDs, because this mower is made by MTD, in order to get this belt off of here, you've got two options. You need to drop your electric PTO clutch and at least pull the pulley down enough to clear this belt guard so that this belt will come off. You do not want to bend these arms. If you try to bend these guys, you'll more than likely just bend the pulley, and then you're in for a whole world of trouble. If you can't get the PTO off, or if the pulley is seized to this shaft, an easy trick that I've done is to take the bolts out of the motor. There's 4 bolts right here. And just scoot the motor back about an inch, and that should give you the clearance you need to get the belt out of there. Okay, so let's come back here. And we have 3 idler pulleys back here. Like I said, I've just kind of thrown these in place for demonstration purposes because I was in the middle of doing this repair. So basically it goes like this. So this belt is going to go around that guy. This belt is going to go around that guy. And they both go around. This is a V idler pulley right here. And these two idlers, this is the one that is the bear to replace, which I'm not sure if you can hear that on camera. But it is about shot, and I'd really hate to do this repair and then have to do it again next year when the idler fails. So we're going to go ahead and change these idlers. This one still sounds okay, so we're going to leave that for now. And this one is not nearly as hard to change. Neither is this one. This one's not hard to change either, but we got a pair, so we're going to go ahead and change them now. One thing to note is the orientation. This idler goes, I don't know if you can see this. See how there's a step right here on this idler? Okay, so this one goes with the step facing up, and this one goes with the step facing down. This one is really easy to get to. You can get a wrench on top of this little bracket right here and loosen this. She will come off like so. And she does have a washer that goes right here, so make sure that you keep up with that. It's a pretty thick washer, so that's a definite spacer. Okay. This is the one that if we come back around up here, you will see this lovely nut. And when you try to loosen it, you're just going to wind up spinning. So if you have a welder at home, I would highly recommend throwing a tack weld on that nut. I wish MTD had done that from the factory, or at least used a carriage bolt. That would have made our lives a lot easier. But you will have to either cut a hole in the body of your mower or remove the body, which is tricky to do. There's not that many bolts. It's just a matter of trying to figure out. There's ones along the kick pan or whatever you want to call this, the dash pan here. This is your floor down here, so there's two bolts there. There's some bolts that hold all of this center console to it. You can kind of wiggle it out of the way without removing it. There's also two bolts down in here that need to be removed, and two bolts up here so that you can get this loose enough to wiggle the body pan out from underneath it. Then you have the two bolts that hold your seat down, and then the two bolts that hold the springs down for the rear suspension of the seat. And then after that, it should come loose. Some models may have, oh yeah, there's one here in the middle, and it's usually underneath the label. So if you look right here, yeah, they put a nice circle on there to show you where to cut at least. But don't try to peel that label off. It will not come off in any large piece. So just go ahead and make you a little hole, a little incision, and that's a 3/8, I think, or maybe a 10 millimeter. But I'd have to check again. Anyway, so then we get back here, and we're trying to get the belt from around these guys, and that's what I showed you earlier. You need to remove these pulleys. There's a nut right here. Remove this fan on this one. This has always been kept inside, so these pulleys came off really easy. I would recommend putting a bit of anti-seize or grease on the splines to make it easier the next time around. But if you see this bolt right here, that is what holds this guy on. There is no way to get this belt out without removing this pulley, unless you wanted to just, drop the entire rear axle, which honestly seems like more of a pain in the butt than it's worth, and you still have nuts on the other side. So no matter what way you go about it, it's a pain in the butt on this one. So we're going to get these two bars removed and get our new belt installed and our new idlers. And then at that point, we can proceed in putting the entire mower back together and then doing our tune-up for this lady. So I just wanted to share this with you guys real quick. Once again, this is a Cub Cadet i1042. I'm not a huge fan of Cub Cadets, but it is what it is. MTD is pretty much making all the box store mowers these days that you see at Home Depot, Walmart, and Lowe's, pretty much regardless of what brand. I've seen John Deere's made by MTD. I've seen Toro made by MTD. The later model Craftsman, so I think after like 2012, 2013, they were made by MTD. Up until that point, they were made by a company called AYP, American Yard Products, which is who owns Poland and Husqvarna. So they, as far as I'm aware, still make all the Poland and Husqvarna mowers. and some other. I did see a Ryobi the other day from the mid-2000s that was also made by AYP. But usually the best way to tell if you have an MTD, if you're not an expert on this stuff, it's going to be by this model number right here. When you see a model number that says like 17WE, has a combination of letters and numbers here at the beginning, that is an MTD. And I don't see anywhere else on here that it actually says, but I just recognize that that is an MTD model number. They do still, if you buy a Cub Cadet from a lawn and garden center, there are still some Cub Cadets out there that are Cub Cadet brand. And when you see the part numbers for those, they look vastly different from the MTD part numbers. But I've only seen a couple of those in the last decade. Most of the Cub Cadets that people have are made by MTD. Like I said, the lower end John Deeres that you buy at, say, Home Depot or Lowe's are also going to be made by MTD. The John Deeres you buy from a John Deere dealer will usually be John Deere units. So they have a totally different model number and usually an entirely different price point. Guys, if you're looking at buying a riding lawnmower these days, expect to spend at least $3,000. If you're spending under that, you're buying a pretty low-end unit. But, that's just the market has moved that way. People want stuff they can throw away. And I think in this case, this mower was never intended to have this repair done. They expected it to be long gone by the time this repair needed to be done. So, but of course, we're fixing the unfixable, right? So I kept this unit in pretty good shape. I will say I do not care for these Kohler Courage engines. This is a Chinese engine. This is not made by Kohler. This one in particular burns oil, and the lady actually set off her smoke alarm that is tied into her security system and caused the fire department to come out to her house just by starting this mower that she does leave in her garage. So even just briefly firing it up and backing it out of the garage was enough to trigger the smoke alarm. So she's not very thrilled with it. This thing is meticulously maintained. I change the oil and use good oil in it every year. These OEM filters. This is a Kohler filter. This is not an aftermarket. But these are just not the best engines. China's taken over the market, man. Like I said, if you guys want something really good, you're going to be spending that money. Expect to spend at least $3,000, if not more, if you want something that's going to last you 10, 15, 20 years like they used to. If not, a mower like this has a lifespan of probably about 5 years. So, unless you want to be spending, $2,000 every 5 years, buy a good one. So anyway, just want to share this quick video with you guys, show you the repair I'm into today, and thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and if y'all need any help, you can reach me by email. I'm always happy to answer any emails that I get. Thank you guys once again. Have a great day.